Welcome, dear learners. Kashmir is a region defined by its breathtaking natural beauty, yet it exists within one of the world's most complex multi-hazard environments. This introduction sets the stage by reminding us that the valley is not merely a landscape but a living system shaped by tectonic forces, climate pressures, and fragile ecosystems. The idea of forging resilience reflects the urgency to prepare for a future where hazards intensify. This video explores why resilience is not optional but essential, and how scientific understanding, planning, and community action can transform vulnerability into long-term safety for the Kashmir. Kashmir's geography places it at the crossroads of multi-powerful natural hazards. Seismic instability threatens major towns, riverine and flash floods repeatedly impact the Jhelum Basin, and drought cycles affect agricultural regions. Avalanches, cloudbursts, and landslides add layers of complexity, especially in higher elevations. These risks do not exist in isolation, they interact, overlap, and amplify one another. Understanding how these hazards coverage help us appreciate why the region requires a multi-hazard approach. It becomes clear that resilience in Kashmir must be built on anticipating combined threats, not forcing or focusing on single event. The Himalayan arc has been reclassified into highest risk seismic category, Zone 6. This upgrade is based on modern scientific assessments revealing immense stored tectonic energy that has not ruptured for centuries. Earlier, zoning underestimated these pressures, giving community a false sense of safety. The new classification underscores the severe earthquakes are not a question of it, but when. This knowledge must drive action, stronger build codes, and retrofitting of structures and preparedness at every level. Understanding this seismic reality is the first step towards reducing potential devastation. Kashmir's landscape makes it exceptionally vulnerable to flooding. Valleys, bowl-shaped topography funnels water from steep tributaries into flat Jhelum River, overwhelming its capacity during heavy rains. Climate change intensifies these events, bringing warmer temperatures and more extreme rainfall. The rivers that sustain life also become destructive pathways when overloaded. Recognizing how the terrain and climate interact explains why floods occur so quickly and with such magnitude. This understanding highlights the need for improved river basin management and early warning systems. Climate change acts as a force multiplier across the Himalayan region. Temperatures here are rising at nearly twice the global average. Rapidly shrinking glaciers that serve as Kashmir's primary freshwater reservoirs. The Kulai Glacier alone has lost over 24% of its area since 1960s. Black carbon pollution accelerates melt, altering seasonal water flow and increasing hazard potential. As glaciers retreat, water becomes more erratic, too much during extreme rainfall, too little during dry periods. These changes challenge agriculture, water supply, and long-term ecological balance, making climate adaptation vital for Kashmir's stability. Accelerated glacial melt is creating unstable lakes that can burst without warning. Millions of people worldwide live near such as lakes, and Jammu Kashmir and Ladakh have seen dramatic increase in lake expansion. With more than 180 lakes already at risk, the Gulfs represent one of the region's most dangerous emerging threats. When these lakes breach, they release sudden torrents capable of destroying everything downstream. Understanding this progression from healthy glacier to unstable lake to catastrophic breach shows why real-time monitoring, satellite surveillance, and evacuation plans are urgently needed. Kashmir's recent past illustrates the devastating consequences of natural hazards. The 2005 earthquake damaged thousands of homes and caused widespread loss of life. Less than a decade later, unprecedented rainfall triggered the massive 2014 floods, submerging large part of the region. These events changed how communities view their own vulnerability. By reflecting on this history, we recognize patterns of unpreparedness and the importance of building a strong foundation for resilience. These disasters serve as powerful reminders that ignoring risk comes at a heavy human and economic cost. The 2014 floods was triggered by continuous heavy rains from September 3rd to 7th, overwhelming Kashmir's rivers beyond capacity. Over 850 square kilometers were submerged, displacing more than a million people. Approximately 3,000 villages felt that impact, and the Srinagar, both the administrative and economic centers, was severely affected, with entire neighborhood submerged under more than 6 meters of water. This part emphasizes how one prolonged rainfall event cascaded into widespread devastation across the valley. Understanding the scale helps reinforce the urgency of improved hydrology or hydrological models, drainage planning, and flood forecasting. The 2014 flood inflicted economic losses estimated at 1 trillion rupees, the highest from any natural disaster in India's history. Agriculture, which sustained rural livelihoods, suffered a significant decline. Horticulture experienced heavy losses, especially apple orchards, and the business sector recorded damage estimating 70,000 crore. This financial shock not only destroyed assets but also slowed growth, pushing the region into negative economic performance. The message here is clear: investing in resilience is far more cost effective than paying the recovery after large scale disasters. The human toll of 2014 flood was immense. Over 230,000 structures were damaged and nearly 1 lakh homes in Srinagar alone were affected. Tens of thousands of cattle were lost, striking at the heart of rural livelihood. More than 9 lakh people suffered in the aftermath as essential needs like shelter, food, safety become uncertain. This narrative illustrates that disasters are not just environmental events, they break families, disrupt communities, and create long-term socio-economic hardship. Strengthening household level resilience become a crucial part of disaster management. The flood did not just damage buildings, it triggered a collapse of critical services across the region. Roads were washed away, hundreds of bridges were destroyed, and the communication system failed almost entirely when the main BSNL exchange was submerged. Hospitals, water supply system, and key government facilities were severely affected. This breakdown shows how interdependent infrastructure can be multiply the disaster impact. When one system fails, another fall like dominoes. Building redundancy and strengthening essential lifelines must therefore be central to any comprehensive resilience strategy. Kashmir's vulnerability is not accidental, it is accumulated over decades. Traditional earthquake-resistant architecture the Gitiwari has been replaced by unreinforced construction that cannot withstand seismic stress. Wetland encroachment, unplanned urbanization, and narrow, high-density settlements increase both earthquake and flood risk. These choices erode the natural capacity of land to absorb water and dissipate energy. This section reminds us that vulnerability is often human-made and the reversing requires smarter planning, reinforcing or enforcing building codes, and respecting ecological boundaries. The updated seismic map reflects a scientific acknowledgement of immense stored energy beneath the Himalayan arc. This is not a prediction but a clear signal of future risk. Using probabilistic seismic hazard assessment, the new classification integrates fault lines, soil characteristics, and ground motion patterns. The message is simple: hazard is real, and preparedness is a responsibility that cannot be postponed. This is a call for stronger enforcement of seismic codes, retrofitting of unsafe buildings, and community drills to ensure readiness for major earthquakes. Kashmir is facing a cascading risk scenario where seismic instability, gulfs, floods, landslides, and weak infrastructure interact to push the entire system towards potential collapse. Climate change acts as a central driver, making each hazard more intense. This interconnected crisis highlights why single hazard planning is no longer sufficient. True resilience requires integrated strategies that consider how one event can trigger another. This understanding helps shift thinking from reaction to anticipation and from fragmented response to coordinated risk reduction. This particular section presents the vision of shifting from reactive disaster response to proactive resilience building. It aligns with the goal of creating safe Jammu and Kashmir, where preparedness becomes part of development rather than afterthought. The imaginary reflects this transition from the conventional planning to green resilient landscape. The message emphasizes that building resilience is a long-term commitment requiring systematic planning, institutional reform, and community participation. It signals the beginning of a new approach that prioritizes safety at every stage of development. A strong resilience strategy requires expert knowledge. This framework proposes forming specialized teams to assess vulnerabilities across the Union territory. It recommends timely evidence-based intervention and emphasizes collaboration with national scientific institutions such as CWC, CBRI, and GSI. These partnerships help ensure that decisions are informed by the best available science. The purpose is to build a foundation where policies are precise, responses are faster, and long-term mitigation measures are credible and effective. The reconstruction model used after the 2005 earthquake offers valuable lessons. It demonstrates how Build Back Better principles create safer communities. By upgrading infrastructure, co-locating services, and prioritizing vulnerable groups, the program helped transform crises into opportunities. Centralized policy ensured quality and standards while decentralized implementation empowered local ownership. This combination of structure and flexibility provides a practical blueprint of Kashmir's current resilience effort. The lesson is that recovery is most effective when it rebuilds smarter, stronger, and more inclusively. The three pillars support Kashmir's path towards resilience. First, proactive governance that empowers state, divisional, and district authorities while ensuring functional emergency operation centers. Second, a robust techno-legal regime that updates building codes to match Zone 6 realities and integrates multi-hazard assessment into urban planning. Third, community preparedness through widespread training and establishment of dedicated state institute of disaster management. Together, these pillars create a system where institutions, infrastructure, and communities work in harmony to reduce risk. Glacial lake outburst flood, that is GLOF, risk requires foresight, not reaction. This section emphasizes expanding real-time monitoring system using satellites and remote sensing tools to track unstable glacial lakes. It highlights the importance of strengthening the new glacial lake outburst flood monitoring centers and develop clear evacuation and response protocols for downstream communities. With proactive system, early warnings can save lives and reduce damage. The message reinforces that technology, planning, and community awareness are the key to manage this rapidly growing threat. The conclusion reframes the central choice facing Kashmir. The debate is not between development and safety, it is between continuing unplanned, vulnerable growth and investing in engineered resilience. The future of Kashmir depends on decisions made today. By embracing science, strengthening institutions, and empowering communities, the region can forge a safer, sustainable path forward. This closing message serves as both a reminder and a call to action. Resilience is not the only direction for Kashmir's long term security and prosperity. Thank you for watching.